This is episode 239 of How About That Cigar, recorded live at the Corona Cigar Studio. On this episode, we talk to Randy Griggs and Matt Tobacco about what we saw at the 2024 PCA Trade Show and much more. Please take a minute to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. Now on with the show.
Corona Cigar Company is your one-stop shop for all your cigar needs. Whether that's a brand new humidor, a box of those new cigars you've been waiting for, a top-of-the-line cutter or lighter, a place to enjoy the finest cigars and spirits with friends, or the only cigars grown right here in the Sunshine State, we've got you covered. Come visit one of our retail locations for the ultimate cigar experience. Visit us online at coronacigar.com.
How about that cigar?
Well, how about that cigar?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Corona Cigar Studios for episode 239 of How About That Cigar Live. Thank you so much for joining us live on Facebook, live on YouTube, live on Instagram, live on X, live on... I'm starting to run out of breath.
Live right now.
Live right now on all of the places. Thank you so much for being with us. If you would, please take just a second and subscribe. Click on the subscribe button. Click on the bell so you don't miss anything that we have going on. We really appreciate it. And, of course, for our fantastic audio podcast listeners, if you are listening to How About That Cigar when you drive down the road, when you work out, thanks so much for making How About That Cigar a part of your regular audio podcast rotation. Take just a minute, if you would, please share us out with your favorite Facebook cigar groups. Let everybody know that we are live. And as always, join us in the comments. Let us know what you're smoking. Let us know what you're drinking. And I'm out of breath. So, Raul, I think
so
you got to talk for a minute because that was a lot of words.
Finally, How About That Cigar is back.
How About That Cigar is back.
Last week we had to be off.
That's right.
Before we go any further, I feel like I'm missing something.
We are missing actually the most important piece of the show.
One of the Three Stooges.
Yes.
Justin, come on, join us, buddy.
What's up, guys? So which Stooges am I?
I was just thinking that. So
I'm obviously Curly.
You're Curly.
Okay, so
So
would
there's Mo.
would you be so I think
I'd probably be Larry.
I think you'd be Larry.
Yeah.
And I'd be Mo.
You're Mo.
And Mo was like the worst of the bunch. He was like the
Oh, maybe I should be Mo.
no,
Oh,
I think
you
yeah.
Mo?
I
All
mean,
right.
if somebody's gonna be, the asshole, it should be me.
Well, thanks for taking one for the team.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, so real quick, the NFL draft is less than a month away.
Yes.
The Twins started out with 2 wins and then got hammered by the Royals in the third game of the series.
Royals?
11-0.
Guess who my Yankees just swept?
The Astros.
The hated Astros. They swept them
yes.
4-0, baby.
I love that.
Hey, Tony. How you doing, Tony?
How's it going, Tony?
How about my Yankees now?
Jesus. I think I saw Dan Thompson from McAuliffe. Welcome, everybody. Eric.
So how about those Timberwolves? I heard they're doing good.
Timberwolves,
I heard really good things.
They're still kind of they're really good.
I heard
definitely
they're one of the best players in the NBA possibly ever. Am I going too far there? I don't know.
He's good.
He's got the potential. They said he could be the next one.
Potential, yes.
Okay.
To potential to be. I mean, as far as players in the NBA today, yeah, he's top 10, maybe top 5.
Right.
Like for all eternity, I'll say he's got the potential to someday be in the top 25 or top 50 players.
And they're in the third places. And then they're like going back and forth.
They are. They're going back and forth. But as of right now, they're in third place. The Wild are out of the playoffs, which is, in a way, this is the weirdest thing about Minnesota sports fans. In a way, it's actually a really good thing because we don't have to worry about the Wild getting knocked out of the first round of the playoffs because they didn't even make it to the playoffs.
There you go.
If they would have made it to the playoffs, they would have gotten knocked out in the first round. That's just kind of what they do. So, unfortunately, the Gophers, the men's Gopher hockey team from Minnesota, they won their first game in the NCAA college hockey playoffs, but they lost to Boston University. So they're not moving on. The Final Four is set. I honestly don't recall who's in the Final Four.
It's got to be one Minnesota team. They have like 5 teams.
I believe UMD is still in there.
Okay.
So, and then yeah, that's really it for Minnesota Sports Talk. So I think we need to get into this week's
Spirit of whiskey.
Spirit of Mystery. Spirit of Mystery.
It's been a week, 2 weeks.
I know. We're out of practice. Spirit of Mystery brought to us by Postania Cigars. Do you find yourself unsatisfied with the top 10 list from How About That Cigar? Are you wondering how cigars from Postania didn't make the HBTC list but found their way onto other lists? Fortunately, you can be reminded every week with this Postania Cigars advertisement. Postania Cigars, the #1 unranked cigar in the industry. So as you guys know, each week, Raul pours a mystery spirit for me, and I get to try to decipher what it is I'm drinking. So
this week, before the show,
yeah,
I messed with him a little bit.
Yeah, he definitely messed with me.
I just poured it, didn't tell him whether it was a bourbon or a rum or a scotch.
Yeah.
And he spent about 5-10 minutes.
Going back and forth, smelling other bottles and trying to, but I mean, we did narrow it down with Raul's help that this is a 7-year
single barrel
bourbon. The nose is really good. It smells like it's higher proof. I get a lot of leather and tons of oak, little like dried fruit, like dried peaches. I'm going to take a little taste here.
So while he's doing that, what are you smoking, brother?
I just went with the Camacho broadleaf for tonight.
And I am smoking the new Connecticut Lovely.
Nice.
And me and Matt were talking. You can't smoke the cigar without singing, "Isn't she lovely?"
I know. Every time I say the name of that brand of cigars, I start singing that song. So this is very high proof. I mean, all right, very high proof. I'm going to say this is north of 110. So no, this isn't in the. I don't think it's in like the 130 range, like you get from some of the Elijah Craig, barrel proofs, But I think this is somewhere between 110 and 125. I'm going to say. It's got a really short finish. The flavor kind of hits right away, and it's got some good sweetness. It's got a little bit of a bite to it. And I get some of those kind of oaky, notes, charcoal notes on the palate, but the finish kind of gone, nice. like right away. So it is sort of a short finish, but it's a nice bourbon.
I'd like to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Postanley. We got to hang out with them guys while we were down at PCA.
Yeah,
that whole crew's awesome. Even Mike Palmer. I even like him now.
Who calls you Raul Julia?
Yeah.
No, those guys are great. Speaking of guys who are great,
should we get our guests?
It is absolutely time to get our special guests on the show.
Are they awake?
I think. Yep. Looks like they're awake.
They're awake. All right.
Guys, on How About That Cigar Live, special guests always brought to us by our friends at Drew Estate. And following the resounding success of Blackened Cigars M81 Maduro, Drew Estate announced the new Blackened S84 Shade to Black, wrapped in a luxurious Connecticut Ecuador cover leaf. The experience of this expression is distinctly different from the original M81 Maduro, while still retaining its foundational qualities from the Connecticut broadleaf Maduro binder. And finally, the filler leaves from Pennsylvania and Nicaragua. Presented in elegantly designed 20-count boxes, Blackened S84 Shade to Black by Drew Estate is available in Robusto, Toro, Corona Doble, and Corona. For more information, please visit drewestate.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, put your hands together. Welcome to episode 239. First of all, from Cigar Dojo Flavor Odyssey, Randy Griggs. Welcome to the show, brother.
What's up, brother?
You are so muted.
In my defense, your producer muted me, I'm pretty sure. What's happening, man? Thank you for having me on.
From SmokinTabacco.com, Matt Tobacco. Welcome back to the show, brother. Is he there? There he is.
I'm here. What's going on, guys? How's it going?
Can you hear the crowd? The crowd is going wild.
Crazy.
This is an intense
For
crowd
you
you guys
guys.
have up there in Minnesota.
So Randy, Flavor Odyssey. That's what they used to call Matt in college.
I can see that. I can see that. Good old
Wow.
College nicknames.
Wow, that's Randy should be offended by that, I think. No.
I had to hear that. We had to
I
hear
love
that for 4 days in a row.
When I look at Matt and I hear you say when Matt was in college, my mind goes to like 2004, and then I remember it's more like 1984 because he's so old.
Whoa! He's only 2 months
I
older than me, buddy.
I started college in 1990.
92.
I was close enough.
Yeah. Oh, so real quick, guys.
I was close enough.
Can we show off something real quick?
Hit it.
All right.
Oh yeah. This was a very sweet thing.
See if you can see the cutting on that.
Oh yeah.
All right, bring that up.
So Raul went and got some custom etched.
Nice.
Wow, look at
whiskey
that.
Oh no! This was a gift from our
But-
guy that does our shirts and polos and
Oh yeah.
all
So-
our merchandise.
Oh, see, that makes it not a gift. That's a sample, and he's trying to get you to order more.
but there's more. So it's a flight paddle that has burned cigars, not bridges, laser etched into
and,
the.
and if you can
into
see
the
right
edge.
here, it's dented. Matt already hit me with it once.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Well, I mean, your head's so hard, it just bounced
Yeah.
right off.
yeah.
College
Totally
hazing.
my-
See, it all goes back to the college days. I like it.
Always.
We got a theme working already. Well, yeah, thank you guys so much for having me here. It's my first time, Matthew Tobacco. I've never met you. Good to meet you. And
You as well?
excited to touch base with you guys. What are we talking about tonight?
Well, we're going to talk about a lot of different stuff, starting with what each of you guys is smoking and drinking. So, Randy, let's go with you first.
All right. I have in my hand an Ernesto Perez Carrillo Pledge.
Nice.
This came out a couple of years ago. I was at Phenomenal Hybrid, Cuban Seed, Connecticut. Love that flavor profile. Love it on the T52. Love it on the H99. Came out great on this cigar as well.
Nice. And Matt Tobacco, what do you have fired up?
I don't have any drink. I'll preface it with that. But I am smoking probably one of my favorite cigars to come out of the trade show last week, and box has already been purchased. The La Giana 30th anniversary from United Cigars. Beautiful cigar, nice barber pole. I don't smoke a lot of barber poles, but when the right one comes along, this one hits just good. And I also have an LFD 30 years as my backup. So
The whole time,
locked and loaded.
the whole time he was talking, all I heard him say smoking pole.
No, barber pole.
All I heard was smoking
Barber
pole.
pole.
Sorry.
I wasn't gonna touch it, but
My bad, buddy.
I might have noticed something about that too. My backup is actually from United Cigars. I was super impressed, and Oliver gave a great speech. I was lucky enough to be in the booth when Garofalo came by, and unlike you, Matthew, I'm not local to Two Guys Cigar Shop, but I'm a huge fan. Of Garofalo and his podcast. There were one of the early shows that I found really like their personalities and everything. So I brought the Gold Star out tonight. I was super impressed with the story. I wasn't familiar with the Gold Star families in general. So it was great to learn about a really great cause, and that United and Dave are supporting obviously Gold Star families for the Marine Corps, I believe. That it's the families remaining after losing a loved one overseas, and so that they did I believe they're doing an auction of their 200 boxes to raise money for those families. So that was a great program. That was probably the best feel good collaboration that I saw at the show last week. So I was going to pull that one out here tonight as well.
Awesome. Well, I am going to smoke the new Hoya Cabinetta Lancero, just released at the trade show. I'm going to fire that cigar up right now on the Cigar Toast Cam. Cigar is the leading accessory brand with innovative butane lighters, precision cutting instruments, travel cases, and humidors. Each product is designed and manufactured with utmost precision and attention to detail. The result is a range of products that exude quality, refinement, and reflecting the brand's dedication to excellence. For more information, please visit Cigar.com. cigarcenter.com.
Dude, that is so impressive. Do you have a monitor set up separately for that side
That's all
camera?
brains. That's
Just
all
for the read? There's no way you have that
He's
memorized.
that smart.
No, I have a monitor right here that I read all this stuff off of, because there's no chance on planet Earth I'd be able to remember all that stuff.
That's smooth. That's some production pre-thought right there. I like it.
Well, guys, let's jump right in, because there's always a lot to cover when it comes to coming back from a trade show, and we're always tired, and it's as fun as it is to see everybody, it's an exhausting few days. And so I want to jump right in, and in terms of the venue. So for the last few years, not counting this year, the last few years before this, we're at the formerly known as the Sands Expo Center, now the Venetian Expo Center. And then this year, just last weekend, we're at the Las Vegas Convention Center, which is in disarray from some extreme remodeling. So from a venue perspective, did you think it was a step up, step down, lateral move? Matt, let's start with you.
Hold on a second, Matt. One quick question. You guys that are watching on Instagram, I'm on Instagram right now. If you can hear us and you can see my post that I put on there, just say hello. That's it. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
No worries. Yeah, I thought that. Obviously, being at the Venetian Convention Expo Center, was kind of more convenient, at least for our team, because we've stayed at Venetian, we've stayed at Treasure Island. Obviously, both of those are just like easier to get in and out of the convention center. You don't have to drive anywhere, take an Uber. So it's nice. That's convenient. At the same time, it's not too out of the way to get to the Las Vegas Convention Center from. We stayed at Resorts World, so I would say it's not too much of an inconvenience, but it was just nicer. It was just we could just walk down, which was kind of nice. But like I said, either way, I could take it or leave it. The convention center itself, look, we've been at the convention center for other conventions before, and I know everyone here I think has been there for TPE in the past, so not strange or unfamiliar. It was to me, it's kind of the same. At least in my experience, if you've been to one convention center, you've kind of been to them all. I don't think I've ever been to one that was really like glamorous or anything that was like, wow. They're kind of all the same. So I didn't think it was, like Matt said, kind of like lateral move. It's kind of like a lateral move for me. They're under construction because they're doing renovations and stuff, but I didn't think that really impacted us. The only thing I did think that was kind of interesting, which I thought was like annoying at first, but as the week went on, I kind of came around to it, was the Vegas Loop, which was interesting. So like you could just kind of go down from within Resorts World and get in there and just drive under the town, which was cool because it's not like a straight line, but you're not on the roads with lights and traffic and all that, so it's still a faster ride, and it was kind of cool. It was a little weird to figure out at first, but
okay.
It was cool. But yeah, the convention center itself, once you're in there, like I said, it's kind of like you said, like a lateral move. I don't know. I kind of felt like it was the same. Once you're in there, all the booths are there. It's bigger. I think it's a bit more spacious than the Venetian, but I didn't really have too many other like major takeaways from like the convention center itself.
Okay.
So Matt, quick question for you, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
You said your team grew this year. How was that having a larger team, and how'd that work all together?
Oh, it was nice. Last year the team grew two, kind of. It's just Nicole wasn't really around because she was pregnant with our daughter. So it was only 4 of us. So this year, we had 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. It was nice because we have 2 teams doing video interviews, and then I had Mitchell kind of going around just getting B-roll and other information, stuff like that. It was nice just because it was easy to break it up and divide and conquer. So I really feel like we covered the floor very well, and it was just nice. I mean, the first few years, when it was just me and Nicole, it was fun. We were still like kind of figuring it out, and we were just shooting some video, and we got like 35 videos our first year, and that was like pretty cool. But now, like we've covered so much more, and we're organized too. And I was really happy with it. So yeah, just very excited, to have a full team together.
Nice.
Awesome.
Randy, what do you think about the venue?
Well, as you said, it was in disarray due to the construction, and so it is a little bit odd as you're pulling in off the street, and the whole front facade, the first thing you see looks like those news shots from a third world country after a hurricane is hit. So thought that was a little bit interesting just to see like a building that size just kind of gutted and like cables hanging down and everything else. So that was interesting. But I love Matthew's perspective, because I have a completely different one from the Venetian. Is we never stayed at the hotels, and so when you're coming in from outside of the building, now obviously that sounds awesome. Just jump in the elevator and head down to it. We never had that benefit staying off site, and so to traverse through the Venetian was quite a trek in and of itself. From parking downstairs to going through the malls and the casino floor and everything to get back to the actual floors for the area for the convention center. And then little things, little niceties that I noticed, that you can only smoke in that one area. You can't go back through the casino floor with a cigar. They don't allow that. So having to put your cigar out before you can leave. Again, minor thing, but I was bothered a few times that like we left more abruptly than I would have imagined, and I still had a half of a really good cigar I didn't want to throw out, but I had to.
Yeah.
So it wasn't nice to walk straight out into the world without having to put out the cigar. But the other thing is, as we've seen this trade show change over the years, the space that they had at the Venetian originally was so much larger than what they needed after the Big Four had pulled out. Mm-hmm. And so there was that couple year transition where there's just like this massive, 100,000 square foot like area just right over there that just was like vacant. So that was weird. So it was nice this year that like we basically filled out the entire footprint. But even this year you had to walk through two completely vacant halls to get to our hall, which in and of itself was weird that there's not a direct access to that hall, and that they set it up to where you have to like walk through this like abandoned industrial building to get back there. And honestly, as we were like walking past, so obviously you guys know the opening night gala was in that front hall. I don't understand why they never turned off the lights on the crown heads and EP Carrillo signage. Just a little kind of sad over there, in this big dark hall with these letters lit up, but they weren't really on display. So anyway, all again, minor little things. We talked about how it felt like they tightened it up. The aisles in between the booths were a little bit tighter, made it feel a little bit more condensed. I felt like it was, very easy to navigate. Everything was cool. I really liked, I guess you're just asking about the building, but the layout of the floor, I have some thoughts on some of the things that they added that I thought they did a very good job this year. But I think this suited us very well. Again, as folks that don't stay at the venue, even when it is in a hotel, it was a little bit easier to get in, get to where we were going and get back out again than at the Venetian.
What are your thoughts, Matt?
Well, I'll say that for us, we stayed at the Westgate, which is right next door. And it used to be when the convention, when half the convention center wasn't torn apart, that you could literally just walk through the Westgate and go through that sort of, outdoor space, between the two, and go through the long hallways in the convention center and go right in. But that it wasn't that way this year. You had to, basically walk outside, which not a big deal because, you know, it was March, so it wasn't 120 degrees, so we could walk outside, super comfortable, and it was an easy walk. But I'll say that I actually have a sort of a minor disagreement with you, Randy, about the layout of the show floor, and that is that I always liked in the past where the main aisles, whether it was front to back or side to side, the main aisles typically went all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And this year there were some, you know, you'd walk like 2 or 3 rows toward the back and you'd run headlong into a booth and you'd have to go around it. And for me, I always liked it better when you just had a straight shot, either front to back or side to side. But I understand why they did it the way they did it, because of the way that room was, just sort of the way they arranged everything. You know, it worked out the way it worked out, and there's some booths that pay for more space and it just doesn't work for them to move them over 2 spaces so you can keep that aisleway open. I guess I get it, but I'm kind of spoiled because I was so used to those days, you know, back in the day at the PCA, where literally once you start walking down that aisle, it's a straight shot all the way.
That's fair. You could always see all the way to the back. What do you think of the idea, though? As you know, for what I do for a living, we talk about like the flow of traffic in a you know, beverage retail place. What about the thought that what if it was more intentional and they're forcing you to have to go in front of and pass by more booths, trying to kind of artificially create traffic around other booths that might not necessarily generate traffic on their own?
Yeah, I think that's why they did it. I think it was probably intentional, and probably whether it was through, you know, people bidding for those spots that sort of, you know, forced you to walk straight into them. You know, I get that I know how it, you know, the whole game of paying for end caps and stuff like that goes. It's, you know, I have no problem with that.
I myself like the smaller footprint because it seemed like we can get to our next interview a little easier.
Yeah.
Once we figured out the layout, I did like the smaller imprint or print, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Yeah, the previous show floors were freaking massive.
Right.
You get lost in there.
I will say too, if I can jump in on this.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys brought this up because I didn't even think of this. But yeah, I mean, thinking back now, like covering the floor. I mean, we're running around a lot, and thinking back now, it felt like I was doing a lot more running around, back and forth, side to side, and I when I was at the Sands, kind of like Matt, to your point, you know, you kind of just, you walked in and it was just like, or Randy, I can't, someone said it, but it was just like a straight line. You kind of like, you could get to the center and you could stop and kind of be like, where was Soccer again? Oh yeah, he's over there. And I felt like this year I was finding myself a little bit more disoriented with like even though by like the end of the second day I had walked the entire floor like it, you know, it in one way, shape, or form several times, I still was like, wait, where the fuck was that booth again?
Yeah, I was in the same boat.
Yeah, I felt lost, like even up to the end. I'm like, I already know, like I was like already over here like 100 times, and I'm like, where is that again?
Yep, everything was closer. You can't see as far out. Like when it was bigger, you could like you said, when you're in the middle, Matt, you can look and see the you know, umbrella for you know, Fuente or everything. You could see everything from a distance because everything is kind of right up on you. You really can't see past the booth that's right in front of you very well.
Yeah, it was almost like you were like downtown in the city, like with all the buildings around you. You couldn't see. Yeah. You're like, I don't know where anything is.
Yeah,
that's fair. I thought it was easier. Last year I did it as a broker, and it was I had to run more. It was further apart. I like the small footprint myself. What do you think, Jess?
I think it was good overall. I kind of agree with Matt. It is, you know, a little bit different, not the straight aisles. But again, there's probably some planning that went behind that. Like to Randy's point, you know, trying to have those bigger booths, you know, have that stoppage right there so people will stop and look at those bigger booths. And maybe that's why they pay more money too at the same time. So maybe it was PCA planning that, but, you know, it could be a minor thing.
Yeah.
You touched on it a little bit. What did you guys think about the time of year? For us, it was great because it was snowing here when we went down there.
Oh, so it's better weather.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it wasn't 120 degrees.
Yeah.
So
Thank
let's all just agree.
That's a
on that.
win in and of itself, right? It's just like period, stop, end of conversation. It wasn't
Walking outside
120.
wasn't terrible.
I just think back to like I get ready in the morning, and I got I wear my Smokin Tabacco shirts and shit. I got my hat on, and I have my shower, and I'm all clean for the day, and I got my backpack. I'm like, all right, it's time to go. I get down to like when we were especially like we were at TI, and we'd go down and just like cut across. And I remember I'd step outside, I'd cut across the bridge, and I'd go down to the casino, and I'm already soaking wet.
Yeah,
and I'm like, my day, like I'm not even there yet, and I already feel fucking gross. Already sweaty, and I haven't even done anything yet.
I don't miss that one bit.
Yeah, no, that was the first thing I thought the first time we walked out of the hall is like it all of a sudden occurred to me how many times I'd be like yelling at Eric, open the door, like I'm trying to get him to unlock the door as quickly as possible because we just had to get to the car, get to air conditioning as quickly as possible. It was nice to walk outside. Got a little bit windy and a little bit chilly at one point, but a couple of those days were absolutely gorgeous days. Just like you just kind of want to walk around, check some things out. So that was nice to be able to like be outside without it being so oppressively hot.
Yes.
I got snow on the ground up here while we were out there. I was like, this is nice.
Oh, we got
mid-70s.
We got hammered. So we were in Vegas and 70 degrees when it was pouring down a foot of snow here. We were.
Oh, and I see we got the local Kevin Acuff.
Yeah.
It was actually cold on Sunday. Yeah.
Cold.
Yeah.
Cold. Kevin doesn't know what cold is.
Yeah, 68 degrees does
But
not,
it's dry.
qualify.
Well, to be fair, to be fair, Kevin did grow up in Ohio, so I guess he does know what cold is. I just think I think he forgot.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's been a long time.
I think he forgot.
So Nicole actually asked something, asking if any feedback on the putt mini golf thing. She said she didn't see anybody there. I did see people there at least 2 or 3 times.
Really?
So it wasn't empty every time we walked by it.
It was mostly empty.
I forgot about that.
Like Nicole's got that one nailed. Like that was pretty. I spent a lot of time right next to that because that's one of the things I was going to say that I really liked that they did this year was they created a spirits area, spirits lounge, where they had Florida de Caña was there. They had an amazing little setup. Their global ambassador was fantastic. Uncle Nearest. They had another situation over there. I forget their name. So I love that. And that little putt was over there. I never saw a single human go anywhere near it.
Oh, I did.
I didn't even notice it.
Unfortunately, we never actually made it into the Spirits Pavilion, which, Justin and Raul don't really care because they don't drink. But I was hoping to at least make it in there, but we were just too. I mean, literally, it was back-to-back appointments pretty much every day.
Yeah, he was cracking the whip all day long, so I couldn't even look at putt.
I think the taskmaster Justin was the one keeping us on track because
Someone's got to keep track.
Yeah, exactly.
Herding cats. I didn't think you had a problem getting libations.
There were plenty of very generous people that happened to allegedly have bottles in their booth.
Yes,
because they're allegedly at some point I may or may not have been offered drinks by people in their booths, but I can't confirm or deny that.
And guys, let me give you a little hint. Don't ever let the sober guys pour your drinks. It's not a good idea.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means.
Because they will fuck you up.
I remember when Matt Booth was there just like by himself before the general buyout, and he had the gin with him too.
Yeah.
And I would just keep circling. And I remember that was the first time I had it. It was a couple years ago. And I was like, I want to try it. I'm not a gin guy, but and I remember trying to be like, oh shit, this is good. And then I would just keep circling back, be like, get more of that gin. And he'd just, do his, come with me to my office. And he would just bring me in the back and be like, yeah, fill it up.
The stripper pole in the back.
That was the stripper pole booth, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
It was, yeah.
I have a video of Jeremy from Wildfire just winding that thing like it's a job.
That dude's a treat.
Oh, Jared, yeah,
a treat.
Dude, he rode that pole better than the girls at Crazy Horse 3 or Sapphire.
Wow. Well, we know what Matthew does when he's not on the show floor.
Yeah,
you can just list him off like that.
I mean,
with the wrong crew.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know the town pretty well. What can I say?
Yeah,
Well-
but going back just real quick, one of the things
Yeah.
I gotta give PCA credit for real quick. Even though the food is atrocious and so expensive, we'll chop that up to the convention center more than PCA. I think this was the year for me, at least. You know, my first year covering the show was 2019, which was the last full-fledged year. You know, pre all the other nonsense and the biggest booths in the world. And, you know, as we went through the last few years, we saw a lot of those manufacturers pivot nicely into smaller footprints. We saw others pivot into larger footprints very elegantly. We saw other manufacturers not know what the hell to do. And I saw places, I'll leave them unnamed out of respect, but went from like that jewelry store, like elegant, amazing, like walk into my cube type model, all the way go down to like where it looked like a public mall cafeteria with just like some round tables and some folding chairs. So we've seen some odd scenarios over the last few years that we've been going to this show. And this year it feels like everybody's figured it out. They've got a plan for the space that they have, whether it be bigger or smaller than it used to be. And for the most part, you see a lot less of those jewelry store where like there's 6 to 8 pillars that you have to like, you feel like you have to like queue up to get inside of them. Everything was a lot more open format, it feels like, to where they're a little bit more welcoming. You can kind of see them from afar. You can kind of get a sense of if they're busy with retailers, if it's time for, you know, media to be able to approach without any issues. So I like the kind of open model that most of the booths seem to have kind of gone to with this new existence that we're in.
Well, one of the other things I'm curious how you guys feel about it, because I was concerned about it before the show, and that was removing that half day. So literally it's just three full days instead of 3.5 days. Do you guys think that was a negative factor at all?
Or positive one.
Or positive?
Having run through it now, I don't think so. As I said in the beginning, you know, when you guys asked about the team, I felt good with how much we got done in those 3 days. I mean, granted, the show is longer because I think what were they? It was like, was it 10 to 6? Well, hold on. Even though I'm sure we'll get into this, technically for all of us, it was supposed to be 9 to 6, but we'll get into that later. So yeah, I mean, the days were longer, so you actually didn't lose as much time overall, and it was nice because I know that towards the end of day 3, there was a few people breaking down, but it wasn't like the half day where you got like the first hour, 2 hours, and then everyone was just like, wrap it up, let's go, even though we still had another like 2 hours to go or 3 hours to go.
Yeah.
I felt like that wasn't as extreme. But yeah, I felt good about it. You know, I was skeptical in the beginning, like, oh shit, like, you know, but we got to the third day, I'm like, I think we're actually in good shape.
Yeah. What do you think about it, Randy?
Yeah, I think, you know, I always try and put myself in their position. I've been in event production for a huge portion of my career. And so I always think about it, like, obviously as the media, we have our agenda and what we're trying to achieve, but, you know, access to media is not why this show exists. And so I usually look at it in kind of out of those two different lenses of how it affects us, and then obviously concede that, well, they don't do this for us. So I think 3 days was great. I thought I don't think there was any loss business or opportunity necessarily for that half day, because the reality is, even looking at it through the lens of media, for a large portion of the folks that we would like to have tried to meet up with on that last half day often don't come. The stars of the booths of the brands leave that day, and you're left with some of the sales guys, maybe the local sales guys, some of the support crew. So for in most intents and purposes, there isn't a great media opportunity on that half day. Anyhow,
Mhm.
I think so. I think 3 days was the right length of time. I think it was. It was also different for us. Our team also grew this year. It was the first year we went to 3 different teams. So we had plenty of ability to capture all the content that we were trying to get. My thinking though is I would have moved it up a slot. I think the gala should have been on a Thursday night and had the show on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Keeping in mind, again, the people that this is actually built for is the retailers to have access to these brands. And the show was pretty slow on that Monday. And obviously, whether that was a half day or a full day didn't seem to matter. So I think that was a miss for PCA, in my opinion, because now you're, when businesses look at their business, businesses often look at it by the week. And so once you start straddling, now this event affects 2 separate weeks, and it always did, when it was before as well. But I think, they got a lot of feedback that the show was a little bit longer than it needed to be. The attendance and volume of traffic was lower than what I'm sure manufacturers would have wanted it to be, because they're paying to be there for each and every day. And so I'm sure the expenses was a point of frustration for the manufacturers of, okay, well, I've got this booth set up basically for 4 days now, and I'm only really getting traffic for 2.5. Why am I paying for this booth for another day and a half beyond that? But to me, it would have been a more successful turnout. You would have maintained heavier traffic flow in general had you started it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, wrap it up Sunday afternoon, and call it a good show.
Yeah. So Justin, this was your 3rd PCA trade show.
Yeah.
So you got 2, previously in the location, but also those 2, your first 2 were with that half day.
Yep.
And then this year, just the 3 full days. I felt like we got everything done that we wanted to and more.
We got like 57 interviews done in those 3 days. So, it was good for our 2-man or 3-man team, with one crew. So I was, happy with that, with our overall progress. I think that extra hour, like Kevin said, and we mentioned, that did help out overall to have that and make up for that 3rd day. So I didn't see a difference.
Yeah, I agree. I was really worried before the show that we were going to miss that half day. And honestly, after the show was over, we even talked about it as we're walking out on that last day. I'm like, I don't even miss that half day at all.
Right.
I'm actually glad it's not. I was ready to go home.
Yeah, and to Randy's point too on that, it does make more sense, I would think, to do a Friday, Saturday, Sunday as opposed to going into the Monday. Maybe it's slower and cheaper for them that day, but it's the Monday's kind of weird, I guess.
Yeah, I agree, and it really does mess up, because for the retailers, I think it messes up their work week. I know for the media, most of the media people have day jobs, so it messes up their work week. And a lot of the manufacturers, they either, like Randy said, they either send their key players or the face of the franchise, they send them, they have to go off somewhere else, or they send half of the sales team they brought with them home early because so they can get back on the road and get back to selling cigars. I think 3 days is perfect, and I would very much agree that it should be
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
The gala Thursday night, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the event itself.
I agree with that too. I'd like to Randy's point. Yeah, I think it should run until Sunday and then be done, and then that way everyone can get home between Sunday night, Monday. Because for me, it's like you said, like most of us have regular jobs, so it's like I left like in the middle of my work week. I did all that, and then I didn't get home to the next middle of the next work week. And it's just kind of it sucks. It's just like a pain. You got 2 weeks back to back where your work week is just trash, and just like you're like in the middle of it, like going out and coming in, and it's just like ugh.
Well, I agree. Most of the hotels and flights, it's Thursday to Sunday and Sunday to Thursday.
Well, you can. The good thing is you can pretty much get flights at any time, but the cost structures for flights vary wildly depending on when your departure and return dates are. Like if you get round trip tickets to Vegas leaving on a Friday, that's going to cost you probably anywhere from 50 to 100% more versus tickets that leave on a Thursday or a Wednesday. So from a flight perspective, you actually do save money.
Yeah.
But from a business perspective, getting back to the regular business at hand when you get home, that it really can cost you depending on what your business is.
I gotta imagine it's way worse for you. I feel bad even complaining about it. I have an hour and 10-minute flight from home over the show. You guys were, Matt, I know you half a day just to get there and back, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, going there at 6 hours,
like 6 hours, isn't it?
Oh yeah. That day's basically gone.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then of course going home, you need to lose 3 hours. I mean, because you go back ahead, and then it's just like we left. You leave in the morning, right? You're still not I'm still not getting home till late at night by the time I actually get here, and then the time change.
Right, so it's a 9-hour difference.
Oh yeah, it's a long day.
One of the other things that I wanted to touch on was the actual event itself, the opening night gala. There's been, if you've been going to the trade show going way back to the mid 2010s, it was a different. The opening night gala was different. Back then it was, because there was a lot more money behind it. I understand. You got to spend money to make that event big, and I think that last year, I guess there are pluses and minuses. There are some things that I think were better about this year's gala, and some things I think were worse about this year's gala. The thing I think that was better was you walk in and they have a bag for you. You don't have to stand in line, because last year when we went to the gala, Justin knows this, we went to the gala, we stood in line for 20 minutes to get cigars, and after 20 minutes we literally hadn't moved an inch, and we're like, fuck this.
Yeah.
And we just went and got some food and stuff like that, and drinks, and then left because we had another event that same night. But this year, it was great. You walk in, you get your bag, and you can go directly to getting a cocktail or whatever. But I have to say, I was deeply disappointed by the food at this year's gala.
Who doesn't love communal nachos out in the middle of a giant room? What are you talking about?
I mean, if you're 17 at a, if it's a high school party and if you're 17, who doesn't love a nacho bar? But I mean, this was like ballpark nacho cheese sauce and stale chips and a charcuterie table, and I don't know.
Charcuterie table was good.
It was, but
it's attractive. I didn't even dare touch it. Was it good?
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with it.
But in the past couple of years, they're walking. They have servers walking out with trays of canapes or hors d'oeuvres and things like that. And I just think that's the food has been way better in the last couple of years. And then the nacho bar, honestly, was like, Justin and I were like, really, a nacho bar? I mean, my God,
that was rough.
That's how much money do people spend to go to this event and this opening night gala? I mean, the word gala, you cannot put a nacho bar in something that you're going to call a gala. I'm sorry.
I feel like I ate better food at high school parties in people's basements.
Yeah,
you probably did. I don't know how you could have eaten worse food than what they put there. And I love that you called that out, Matt. Yeah, the hors d'oeuvre runners is such a nice. I mean, the whole reason we're there is to network, to catch up with our friends in the industry and everything else. To have to go queue up and go get yourself food is just this whole other ordeal and distraction. It's so nice when you're just standing in a circle and someone shows up with a cool little tray and you're just kind of picking up the hors d'oeuvres as the evening goes on without having to make eating this whole separate thing that okay, well, we're going to go over here and huddle up around this itty bitty little high top and try to get some food in while we're here. Yeah, That was and you know what, whatever his name, Tolsman,
Andrew.
Andrew nailed it. The reality is, now that we've been to TPE and seeing that, and for those that aren't aware, I mean, the TPE party is one of the coolest club night concert live events, cabanas, bottle service if you want to pay for it, dance parties. I mean, one of the dopest parties I've ever been to in my entire stinking life. And it's really hard not to now hold PCA to that bar. And it's just like, when you compare it to that, I mean, that was just sad and kind of depressing and embarrassing.
Well, I know the band also, and I know this band wasn't at the TPE show this year, but for the last few years before 2024, you know, when Radio X was playing, that band, that's the greatest cover band in the world. I mean,
those guys were phenomenal.
I mean, I'm an old reserved, you know, just nerd. But at that party, I throw down. I jump. I'm right at the front of the stage, jumping up and down like I'm.
I have evidence.
Years old again.
I have evidence.
And I love everything about that TPE party. And this, when we walked into that opening night gala last Thursday night, we were like, and we saw the nacho bars. We just went,
where are we going next?
Honestly, it was like
two things.
Where are we going next?
Two things. One, yeah, you nailed it with the band. And after last year's TV, me and Tolsman actually went and saw them again.
I know.
At the barbershop.
I know.
At the Cosmopolitan. And that was badass because my flight got delayed and then we rescheduled for like 2 days later. And I was supposed to go home. And then we ended up staying. And then I texted Andrew and I was like, hey, so I'm actually not leaving for 2 days. And he was like, oh, come meet me. And then I met him and he was like, dude, isn't Radio XX playing at the barbershop tonight? We should go. And I'm like, yeah. And he was like, we literally have to be there in like a half an hour. And that was great. They are one of the best bands I've ever seen.
Right?
The other thing is, yeah, when it comes to the food, there was 2 events that were a part of the trade show weekend that had way better food, and I just think that they deserve to be mentioned because the food was awesome. One, the JC Newman thing,
phenomenal,
fantastic,
dude. The food at that was out of this world. And then Lido Gomez's 70th birthday party at the new Casa de Monte Cristo at the Paris. I was there, and man, they had quite the spread over there too. They had some real fancy stuff, and I was like, damn, this is good. And then you think back to the main trade show opening gala with everyone there, and there's a nacho station, and you're like, oh, that's cool. That's cool.
That's a better way to say it, nacho station, because nacho bar sounds kind of fun.
Like there's options and other things that you can like put on it.
I wouldn't even call
what is it that Rodney Dangerfield once said? I've had better food at the ball game.
Yeah.
Ball game food.
It wasn't even nachos. It was just some cheese you get in like grade school or something. You know?
It was the cheese that comes in the big can, the big food service cans. And I mean, so I used to say this. I have changed my mind on this over the years. 5 or 6 years ago, I was all about the PCA saving every penny they could so that they could put that money into the legislative fight. And I still believe the legislative fight is super important, but I also have come to understand that there is something important about having an event that people talk about in a good way. People are raving about this event after they get back. And when we get back from TPE, we are raving about this opening night party. And we have been for years raving about how awesome the opening night party at TPE is. And we come back talking about the PCA party and we're complaining. That's a problem for the PCA. And I believe that it would be worth every penny that the PCA could spend, within reason, of course, but it would be worth significant investment to make that opening night party just ridiculous. Live bands, great music, bright lights, really, really high quality food. And I understand. I mean, Kevin was saying that they were basically, you know, the food service was what it was, and you can hire caterers to bring food in from the outside
That's true.
into the
That's
Las
true.
Vegas Convention Center, and they should have absolutely done
They should have had the young lady from JC Newman that organized that party.
Oh, Sydney.
Sydney.
Organized
Yeah.
Yeah, Sydney.
gala.
Sydney knows how
She
to
did
throw a party.
phenomenal.
That girl knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
My goodness.
She's
Yeah,
really
she
come into her own over the last couple of years. She's been with them. They've
Um,
always done a great event for media. We didn't make it
Oh, yeah.
this year, but every year the JC Newman event is always something you talk about. But you nailed it. I mean, that's such a big part of this, right? Again, looking at the lens through why they actually hold this event, they want to create a higher level, deeper engagement between the manufacturers and the retailers. Like that is, if you distill it all the way down, that is why this thing exists. And so to ask everyone to spend their hard-earned money to, pay all the union nonsense and everything you have to deal with in Vegas, and then to come and rent all this stuff, you've got to make it an event for the retailers to want to, and I would imagine, in years past, they've talked about, at certain shops, they have a raffle or there's a rotation where it's like this big deal for the staff to get to join, the buyers for the brick and mortars to go out there. And you want it to have some cachet other than just, we go because we get a better deal there and we can kind of ask some questions about the new releases and plan out our inventory for the year. You want it to be, there's some pomp and circumstance around going on these trips in general. I work in the alcohol industry and go to trade shows all the time, and for just craft beer, which is not the biggest dollar portion of Alc Bev, we have these huge keynote speakers. We have these great authors like Michael Pollan and Simon Sinek come and speak to the audience, and that's something worth talking about and writing home about. And then you have the big parties and the galas and the side events, and like so many people go, they value the trade show, but this is also kind of a pseudo vacation for a lot of people that you get to get away and spend this money, and you take your staff and you reward your staff by allowing them to go and interact with the community, and then you get a nacho stand.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the after parties.
Yeah.
You mentioned JC Newman.
Yeah, after events, and it could be a brand event like for media, or it could be just kind of general hanging out, whether it's at one of the hotel bars or something like that.
I'm gonna kick this one off.
Yeah,
we went to Luciano's media event at his
at their Airbnb.
Yeah. Thank you. And his wife and his daughters cooked for us.
Yeah,
it was a phenomenal layout.
It was the best food we had while we were I think, at least. I mean,
that last night when us four went.
Oh yeah,
pretty good.
That was pretty. Yeah.
Carson Kitchen.
Where'd you go?
Carson Kitchen. If you haven't been to Carson Kitchen, it's off strip. Nate Beck from Bovida introduced us to it, and we went there last year with Nate, and we went there again this year with Nate.
It's going to be a tradition, I think.
I think so.
But that Luciano after party, media party, was great. Family cooked for us. We smoked cigars. We sat back. We got to meet his staff and everybody that's involved with him.
He blended some tobacco, with this, like Luciano always does. Bust out the tobacco, starts passing it around for people to try stuff. So it's a good spot to be in at PCA, I think, with Luciano's team when you get a chance to get to that.
What about you guys, Randy?
For us, we did literally nothing this year, which I got to go hang out with you guys in the evenings. I hang out with the antisocial portion of the media. So we just hang out at our own Airbnb. We invite some friends over, and but we cook at the house. We lounge. We hang out in the hot tub and the pool, and just kind of do our thing. It's kind of our little pseudo vacation. We get to just kind of have a bunch of guys being dudes hanging out at a big ass Airbnb. But in years past, like going to those side events, they're usually far superior to anything that the PCA rolls out. Like I said, I've enjoyed going to the JC Newman one over the years, and but this year we literally did nothing.
And Paulie can cook a hell of a steak, by the way.
Yeah, Paulie.
Oh, yeah?
Paulie can cook.
He can cook.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, Paul, thank you again for that I believe it was skirt steak or flank steak. It was ridiculous.
Chicken, steak, macaroni and cheese. It was, after we were running around all day, that was like the first actual meal that we had. Like we were
Brazilian rice,
something. Yeah, it was all good.
All the food was great.
Yeah.
Matt, where else did you go, bud?
We did the JC Newman thing, which was great. I did Lito Gomez's 70th birthday, which
That sounds phenomenal.
That was really fun.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
And in terms of actual events, I think that's all I did. I mean, we went we went to 8 one night, but that was because I was meeting with someone there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I was ready to just blacklist them for trying to do the old bait and switch on the on the table. But, well, it's funny because we got the email from the PCA, and they were like, "Oh, like, you know, there's 8 Lounge and there's Gatsby, and if anyone wants to reserve a table, you can make reservations or whatever." And Nicole did that, and they got back to like, "Oh yeah, just, you know, like the minimum, you know, if you want to hold a table, there's a minimum of $250." And we were like, "All right." I mean, we figured we'd have a group with us; they'd be fine. She made the reservation, and then they emailed back and said, "Oh, hey, so by the way, we decided to actually change the minimum to $750 now."
Oh, jeez.
And it's like,
it's pretty drastic change.
It's triple, and it's like, really?
Oh yeah, they can do whatever they want.
And it's like, not for nothing, but it's like, think about it though. That minimum is just a walk in the door.
Yeah.
So, all right, so now the minimum is $750. Let's be realistic here. You're talking over 1,000 because, you know, now you're in there, you're committed, and you got probably a group going, and it adds up.
Well,
you know,
and then on top of that, you throw on $30 cocktails and paying $80 for a $15 cigar, and I mean, it's out of control. But, you know, to be fair to 8, pretty much every venue, and we heard about this even at last year's PCA, because it seems like the trade show always lands on some other major event going on in Las Vegas. This year it was March Madness, and Wu-Tang was there, and there's all kinds of other stuff going on. So they when Las Vegas knows that there's major events coming into town, they raise their prices, and they are unapologetic about it. They do not give a fuck. They will triple their prices. They will quadruple their prices. And if you don't like, even for reservations that have already been made.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, but they already had a reservation.
They
did it at $250. I mean,
hotels do it, restaurants do it, cigar clubs do. Everybody does it. They will raise prices on reservations you've already made.
It's Bronx tale. Fuck you, pay me.
Yeah. No, that was
yeah, it was good fellas.
Yeah.
Fuck you, pay me.
Fuck you, pay me. And that's
you had a bad month? Fuck you, baby.
They can basically do whatever they want to do. It's like, oh, you don't want to pay. I know you originally reserved this for $100, but now we want to charge you $900. You don't want to pay it? That's fine. We'll just cancel the reservation.
Yep. Because somebody else will pay it.
Because somebody else will pay it. Absolutely.
Yeah, but that is so like anti.
I agree.
What everything else always is, like, your grandfathered in. It's
Yep.
like, well, yeah, the suckers that didn't make the reservation, they're going to pay $750, but the people with the reservation, we have to honor the price for them, right?
I agree
We followed the rules. We did it on time. You know,
Right,
we filled it out, and then it's like, oh, never mind. I actually want to wring you dry for.
We fooled you. Haha.
It's like, all right, well, guess what? I ain't going. So,
Was that a head count thing, Matthew? Is that
like, was it specific to how many people you had?
Yeah.
Nicole, if she's still awake and watching, will have to clarify. I'm not sure because she did it. I don't know. I didn't think so. I don't know.
Well, because it would seem pretty odd if you're showing up with a crew of 5, and $750 seems exorbitant. If it was 10 to 15, we know there's lots of large groups.
Oh, sure.
Right? When Drew Estate goes out, it's 25 people, and and $750 all of a sudden doesn't seem that audacious. But it's you and your 4 group members. It's like, well, that's just completely that's a limiting factor that we have to. So what'd you do? Did you cancel the reservation, or did you actually cough up?
No, we canceled.
Oh, you
No,
did?
we canceled. I ended up going one night, but that's because the manufacturer wanted to meet with me and said, I'm going to get a table. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
And we actually wanted to get together and talk about some stuff. So I was like, all right, yeah, I'll come. I mean, whatever, but I'm not paying.
Well, yeah,
like,
if it's free, then we'll all go.
yeah, exactly. So I'm like, no, but so we canceled it and that was it. And I remember last year at the so we're like starting minimums the table there, and Jay Davis, who I think everyone knows Jay Davis, he doesn't drink either, and he was like, I'm not going to spend $200 to drink fucking Diet Coke. Like, it's ridiculous. So
well, and those prices went up too, depending on the time of day. So at the Circle or Bar Luca last year, if you wanted to sit at one of the tables, if it was earlier in the day, it was $75. Once it got past 10 p.m., it was $200 for the same table, the same chairs.
It's crazy.
So
of course, because they knew that's when people start to arrive.
Exactly.
I was about to say, exactly. That's just a simple supply and demand.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We're going to have a line out the door. We're going to charge premium for those.
Because what happens, right? The trade show ends, 5, 6 o'clock, especially with the manufacturers. Maybe they linger a little longer. Then they go to dinner because they got to take people out, and they're there for a couple more hours. And then now it's like 10, 11 o'clock, and let's go to the casino and smoke. Now everyone's starting to show up, and they have this crowd there. And let's be honest, we all know they hated it. So they're like, oh, well, the cigar show is in town, and everyone's here smoking, and well, let's put minimums on the tables and raise them up because they show up late.
Even the price of the drink, I only bought one round for what, 5 of us? 4 of us. And it was
at Resorts World.
No, when we went to eat dinner. Remember when we had the little goof up at? What that was the name of the place again? I keep forgetting.
Carson Kitchen.
That was almost $80-$90 for 2 ginger ales and 2 drinks.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, everything went up. We every year we go to Casa Fuente every year. It's like that's our tradition. We go mojitos and smoke Casa Fuente's cigars, and we all take turns buying around, and we'll do 4 or 5 rounds while we're there. And but it used to be like $80 a round. Now it's $125 a round, and it's the same head count that we typically go with. So it's like, shit, man.
All right, Matt, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to add one thing. You talk about how it seems like there's always an event going on. Mm-hmm. Well, and someone had just mentioned about New Orleans for next year. So I don't know how many people know this, but the French Quarter Festival, which brings in like 1 million people, is taking place.
This festival that they hold.
Guess when? Oh, when PCA is happening. So good luck, everybody.
And hotel rooms are already extremely scarce during those dates.
We already reserved an Airbnb because we were like, we're not playing that game. I'm not taking the chance.
Dude, how many bedrooms?
Yeah, Nicole clued us into that because we had no idea. Nicole saw us on the trade show floor, and she's like, just so you guys know, you might be screwed for next year. So I was like, oh shit. So
yeah, you guys can stay with us.
That might. Well, actually, Justin and Raul are going. I'm not going
right
here.
Brody,
to the trade show. So
Brody, we're staying at your house. I know you got an extra bedroom.
All right.
Hey, it wouldn't be the first time that the HBT squad
that's true.
Smoke Tobacco squad. We've done.
Yeah, when we went to the Great Smoke a couple years ago, we all bunked up at an Airbnb. The worst Airbnb in history, by the way. It was.
They filmed porn in that house. They did. They did. Me and Matt were talking about this at length.
There's those cocks all no morning next door, cock-a-doodle-doo.
What was that?
If
peacocks.
If the walls could talk, I don't want to hear anything they have to say.
You were taking a nap on that couch, and I remember just saying, Matt, how many porn scenes do you think were filmed on that couch? And you were just like,
I'm pretty sure I immediately took a shower after taking a nap on that couch. That was horrifying.
With Airbnb, try your best to only rent from super hosts That is a key element of Airbnb. Is like there's a distinction between super hosts and just regular ass sons of guns renting their who knows what.
That's what this was. It was definitely a who knows what. All right. So now for what our consumer viewers and listeners are so interested in, and that is talking about the cigars from the trade show. First of all, not from a specific cigar standpoint, but just from a brand standpoint overall. Randy, I'm going to start with you on this one. Which company do you think is having the best post-show social media buzz?
That is an interesting question. I would tell you that as a general whole, I felt like it was a soft year for releases. There didn't seem to be nearly as much buzz going into the show. I can tell you that I strongly don't believe that it was the Undisputed with Mike Tyson. That is not the right answer. Hard to say. I couldn't tell you the stuff that was like billed as supposed to be a big deal. I think your sponsor looks like all three of our sponsors. The Shade to Black is probably the one that has the most kind of like interest around it, best story around it. I just felt like it was a soft year in general, though. I mean, obviously you got your kind of favorites that are always going to be getting some interest. I think what Saka does always draws interest. I don't know. I felt like it was just a soft show in general as far as new releases.
Well, and before we get Matt's answer on this, I have to just say blessings and good evening to our wonderful friend Rafael Nodal chiming in and saying hello this evening. My friend, it's wonderful to have you on the show, and saying hello in the comments. Grateful to have you listening in while we're doing a little bit of bitching and complaining, but some positive talk too. Definitely positive talk as well.
A little bit out there. I did like the Te Amo, rebrand. Actually, not to kiss Raphael's ass at all. And the H. Upman 175th was probably my favorite release from that year's show. So it was exciting to see the 180th release. But Raphael's one of the biggest class acts in this whole industry.
Absolutely. So Matt Tobacco, which brand or company do you think has the best, is having really solid post-show buzz?
I agree with a lot with what Randy said. There wasn't, I feel like there was a stronger overall buzz last year. And in my experience of doing the trade show and covering the trade show, there always seems to be a core group of brands that always have something. And it's, they're popular brands that everyone always, wants to see and talk about. And there's always something there. And I'll just throw a few random names out there. DTT, Arturo Fuente, Oliva, I think usually does a pretty good job of that. Drew Estate's back at the show. So, I mean, like Randy said, the Shade. Those are like the players that always seem to have something. Everyone's always talking about it. It's kind of like a given. It's hard to really pick one name. And then, it's kind of hit or miss with everyone else. Some years people have this big new thing that they're bringing. And then other years it's kind of like, we did like a line extension and kind of just being business as usual. And I felt like this year there was new products at the show. Don't get me wrong. And there was some good stuff that I like the La Giana 30 that I'm smoking, I thought was cool. The Gold Star, like Randy was talking about, that's cool. Saka brought the Lancero sampler, which was like, drama in itself in a good way. Which is cool. You go to Fuente, there's always something new that they're bringing that's like, oh, what's that? Oliva, like I mentioned, they had like they had like one new thing, but like last year they had a couple of like really interesting products. Drew Estate bringing the Shade. It's Drew Estate, Altadis, Altadis was mentioned. They brought a ultra premium Monte Cristo, which I'm intrigued by. The Te Amo rebrand, I think, is interesting, and I am curious to see how it does for that brand, down the stretch. LFD brought their 30th anniversary celebration, their LFD 30th, which I think, they're another brand that doesn't always bring something, but when they do, kind of, a big deal. They take their time, they put stuff out, when they're good and ready, and I think that works for them. And
did any boutique brands stick out to you?
Boutique brands, I mean, I would technically put Steve in the boutique realm. I mean, he's not Altadis General and the big guys, and he's definitely growing quickly. I see Steve in the next 5 years becoming even bigger than he is now, and he's already pretty powerful. But I mean, I would say he's technically in that realm still. There was a couple of booths that we walked by, and there was some interesting stuff. But overall, yeah, it just didn't feel. I felt like going into the show last year, I had like a long list of big names, small names, what they had coming out, and it was like, oh, we got to hit this, we got to hit this, we got to hit this. Like, I want to try this. And this year, it just kind of felt like, I mean, even leading up to the show, I talked I talked a lot about this with Cigar Coop. We had a conversation like the week before the show, and I was like, hey, so we got like a week to go and not really excited. And he said the same thing, like, yeah.
Oh, really?
Going into like out of all the years, like pre-show, he said the same thing. Like, it's kind of quiet, not a lot of excitement. I think a lot of the schedule change probably had some to do with that. Because now it's moved up. You had 2 shows within 12 months. So you had a show in July, and then you're already back in March. So I think that did have a play for some manufacturers. There's no doubt about that. Maybe not for everybody, but I think for a certain percentage, I think that played a role. But yeah, I mean, just. Yeah, it was a good show, but not as much excitement, I think, as I would hope. But I'm banking on maybe by next year's show, we see a lot more. Now that people are going to have technically a little more than a year now, because now the next show's, I think, middle of April. Yeah. So I'm banking that the next year's show will probably have a lot more stuff to see again.
Randy, did you have a boutique brand that stood out to you?
Well, I love what Matthew just said. I don't even know if I had put that much thought into it. Is how many big releases came out last year, and here we are. What are we? 7 months later. The pivot for these companies, usually takes more than a year. So often that was one of the things that I noticed that as we were asking, when is this hitting the market? More than I can ever remember, people saying it's already out or it's shipping next week.
Right.
Where in years past we're going the last week of June, and it's we're aiming for September, October, and you're still months away from the release date. So I think that's huge. And Rafael Nodal just jumped in and threw his 2 cents in that the timing definitely affected it, because there was a lot of big releases last year for big and small brands. It feels like a lot of people put a lot of effort into that. I got to ask though, because Raul, you asked for clarification from Matthew. Were you inferring that you don't see Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust as a boutique brand?
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I don't.
You don't?
Maybe because I have 4 totes full of his cigars. I don't see him as a boutique anymore. He's everywhere.
I would go as far as to say you're not exactly the standard consumer either, though, right?
True, you're right there.
And are we talking about like drunk chicken and down, or like what?
That's true. Like where does your bar start?
It's a really difficult thing to define, and people have been debating this for, as long as I've been watching cigar media, going back to like 2010, 2009, and even before that, reading blogs and stuff like. It's really hard to define the term boutique brands, and I think I mean, when you look at it from a perspective of total production numbers, you know, from a company, how many cigars are they producing and shipping every month? And from that perspective, I think Dunbarton is still a boutique brand. But from a brand recognition standpoint, especially in the cigar nerd community, they're mainstream in the cigar nerd community, but probably not mainstream in the everyday cigar smoker, you know, community.
I kind of put them and Roma Craft in their own little spot.
There is, I believe that I agree with you there. I think there is sort of this middle ground. I don't want to call it no man's land, but there's this middle ground where there are some companies that are riding right on that dividing line. And I think I agree that Roma Craft and Dunbarton and maybe a couple other companies would be sort of riding right on that dividing line between, you know, big cigar company and boutique brand.
I had someone say to me one time, I was talking about Tatuaje, and I said, I mean, I don't really feel like Tatuaje is like a boutique brand just because of, you know, how mainstream it seems. You know, I've been in and out of a lot of shops across the country, and, you know, Pete has a nice, you know, stronghold pretty much everywhere I go. And I have people do like, oh no, like Pete's still boutique. And I'm like,
that's crazy.
I know he's not Altadis, but like, I mean, Tatuaje has been around for 20 years and he's got quite the spread. So
yeah,
I don't think he is.
I agree with you. And I think part of it also, that's a good point that you said that Tatuaje has been around for 20 years. Cause I think part of it also has to do with longevity. And I think maybe once you get to that 20-year mark, then I think you can, depending on production numbers, I think if you hit the 20-year mark and your production numbers are relatively high in comparison to all cigar brands, then I think you can call yourself a legacy brand at that point.
Well, I think Matthew hit on something there. Again, you know, I'm in distribution, and so maybe it gives me a, I don't know, effed up kind of perspective or whatever. But to Matthew's point, you go around the country, you find Tatuaje in a high percentage of shops.
Exactly.
And your penetration into the market, your access to the average everyday consumer. All due respect to Raul and to the gentleman calling everything I call boutique mainstream. In the messages here, I would bet you money they don't feel like they have enough access to the broader cigar smoking world. Like you said, Matt, we're the cigar nerd community. We know about the littlest brands that you'll never hear of. It'll never be at your golf, pro shop. It's probably not going to make it to your local brick and mortar. You've got to seek it out. You've got to probably hit a couple different websites to even find that new release being carried, in any way, shape, or form. So I just wonder how many levels are we talking about here? Because obviously we're all going to distinguish. You've got your Altadis, General, even maybe put Perdomo close to that realm. You got that upper tier of mass manufacturing and access in virtually every brick and mortar that you're going to walk into, coast to coast. Not to mention the overseas business. Tatuaje you're going to find in every shop in Europe as well. By the way,
that's true.
And so to me, I am a big fan of penetration, Allison. It's what I do for a living. What can I say?
Wait, what do you do for a living? Hey-o.
But even when you talk about Dunbarton Foundation, and how many? I just keep going. Roma Craft, hell, even JRE. Now I'm definitely say CLE and Asylum, much definitely 2 tiers above JRE cigars. I don't know. To me, if you have to seek it out, if you have to watch these kind of shows, if you've got to follow on groups on social to really find out who the cool kids are these days, that's boutique in my world. Now is there layers within that? Sure, but I would also say, I hate to take away that word, which resonates so much, like artisan, craft, small batch feel. I would think that brands should want to be seen as a boutique brand, because it says it kind of gives a little bit of an idea of the qualifier of the craftsmanship and the quality of the products that they're putting out. Now I would say Espinosa, now especially has surpassed that. He's now graduated out of that. I would say 7 years ago, Espinosa was probably still boutique. And so I don't know. To me though, you guys saw how many booths. Was this the first time you'd ever seen them at the show? And are they boutique? Sure, but there's kind of a qualification. We talk about this all the time of just like just consumer psychology and buying behavior is like, well, that's the first time I've ever seen it. No one's ever actually mentioned it to me. It's something that I need to check out. So it's not even really validated yet in my mind. So it sounds to me like you guys are saying that if it's been validated as like, no, this is a legit brand and you should be shopping it and it needs to be in your rotation, that immediately catapults them out of boutique. I don't.
Randy, can we agree on this? Kevin put a good point. Can we say mainstream boutique? We got the top level, we got mainstream boutique, and then little.
You know what I think too is I think there was a time when you had big players and then you had boutiques, and I think today there's so many more brands.
Correct.
That now there has to be more like categories and genres. Like you got the real big guys. You got the big four, Arturo Fuente, JC Newman, and like Oliva. Maybe let's throw Ashton in there.
Sure.
Even Placencia is kind of inching into that realm.
Yeah, like the guys where like when you go to places that you wouldn't suspect to sell cigars and they have the little humidor, that's what's in there. That's like, we're everywhere.
Right.
Then you have, like the middle class, you have Tatuaje, you have La Flor Dominicana, you have, I think Sock is like pretty much there. And if he's not, then within the next year or two, he's there. But I mean, he's really come a long way. But like you got those companies that they're big, they've been around, especially like LFD Tatuaje, my father, they've been around a long time.
My father is definitely mainstream. I mean, my father's been mainstream for a long time.
My father's got to be 10 times the size of Tatuaje, though. Right?
Oh, it is. But I think they're probably that next frontier is probably being like with the big boys, but I think that they're pretty close if they're not there. But just for the sake of like you have like the middle class, you have the good sized companies. They've been around a long time. They do make a lot of cigars. They are in most shops, and then you have like the smaller like up and coming people who been around. If you've watched the shows, like Randy said, and you kind of, you know who they are. And then now you kind of have like this like micro boutique, like the people in the BCA pavilion, where it's like even a lot of regular smokers would be like, "Who's that?" Like,
where they're literally just getting started.
It's kind of. I've heard people, use like the micro breweries comparison with like some of these like really little brands. It's like, oh, it's like some of those like little microbreweries that like they're like local and they like make beer, but like they do a good job, but it's like so small. And you have like cigar companies that are like that now, and they're at the trade show. So you have like multiple areas now. It's not just like big and small.
That's a good point. I agree with that the categories have expanded. There's more than just boutique and
because there's so many now too.
I agree with that. Yeah. So from
Randy, I don't take offense to anything. I'm a fireman. You can say whatever the fuck you want. I'm good, brother.
I picture Raul being like the guy. When you say fireman too, and I look at Raul, I always think of Raul as like being one of the guys on like Tacoma FD.
I don't know what that is.
It's the Lizard Boys that made
Super Troopers, Beer Fest.
Troopers.
Oh, I know.
It's on Netflix.
Broken Lizard.
Yeah.
So
I picture Raul being like that.
Sort of piggybacking off of the the brand buzz. Now I want, and I it's going to be interesting because you guys both of you guys were sort of saying a little bit, if I'm not putting words in your mouth, that you weren't necessarily excited or didn't necessarily see a lot of specific individual cigar releases this year. But I'm still curious if you have one or two on your mind that, whether you smoked them or not, ones that you think are going to, have some success in the market as far as individual cigar releases. And we have kind of our own little list here. But Matt, I want to start with you as far as, one or two or three that you think are going to have success out there.
Well, like I said from the beginning of the show, this cigar is one that, I smoked on the floor, and I don't smoke many cigars on the floor, and I loved it. Nicole loved it. And, I have a soft spot for the United guys, obviously, but they also do a great job. And if anyone's ever followed our coverage the last few years, watched the Spare Note show with Coop, and now me, Kevin, and Coop. We've always kind of done this pre-PCA show where who's exciting, who we have excited to see, who do we think's have a great show. United has always been at the top of that list. I feel the same way this year. They brought some great stuff. I am a sucker for a Lancero, and I love what Steve's been doing. So I'm just personally, I'm very curious about that Lancero sampler. If I'm being honest,
Sure.
just because I do love Lanceros, and I'd love to smoke through all of them just to see how they all shake out. Just because me personally, I find that fascinating. And I'll say this, which I think is interesting. Well, let's talk about Gurkha for a second. The Year of the Dragon. So they did their Year of the Dragon that they showed last year. And then, as many people know, that there's the lawsuit with Davidoff over the use of the name. And then this trade show, they kind of brought this expanded Year of the Dragon, which they've done with multiple factories. And there's an Oscar Valadares version, there's an AJ Fernandez version, Rocky has one.
It'd take less time to name companies that don't have one.
Right. So my point being, I know that for a lot of people, Gurkha is kind of a interesting brand to talk about, but this discussion kind of came up with a couple of people at the trade show, and it was kind of one of those things where it was that Year of the Dragon thing that they're doing with the multiple manufacturers is intriguing, and it's interesting, and it's kind of all right, this is kind of cool, and I just feel like they kind of have to hit it with that, and this is what a lot of people said to me too, is I feel like they really got to hit it with that, because they've really gone out there, they're trying to protect that dragon name and make the whole buzz about it, and then do this project. I kind of feel like for them that really has to go well. Mm-hmm. If not, I feel like it's kind of not that they'll look bad, but it's just kind of well, you kind of made this whole thing about the Year of the Dragon and all that. So if you're gonna do it and you put that out, it's got to go well. So for me, it's I'm curious to see how it does and what the general reception is on that project.
I do want to try that Gurkha Undisputed and the Year of the Dragon.
Yeah,
I want to smoke both of those.
Yeah,
I'm interested in both.
Undisputed too, because I like Tyson. But yeah, I agree.
Randy, what do you think? Are there some specific cigar releases from this trade show that you think are going to fare well in the marketplace?
Yeah, sure. I think they're really going to have to. They're going to have to show out when people get to them. But I definitely think there was enough kind of themed and new projects that draw enough interest that I think a large swath, at the very least, of the cigar nerd community that we're in are going to want to at least have to try it. I agree. I see all the rhetoric and hate towards Gurkha. I think some of their concepts are really fun. Obviously, Mike Tyson. I'm of an age group that Iron Mike was the biggest name in my youth.
Man.
And just looking at the crowd that lined up to see him sit in that chair was I shouldn't say unexpected, but it was wow. You know, I mean, we haven't seen Guy Fieri get that kind of people pushing just to get to the front to snap a photo from him from 15 feet away was really something. So I think that will probably surprise the cigar nerd community, that's probably going to get a lot more attention than I think guys like us maybe are necessarily going to have for it. I think West Tampa, hopefully we can all acknowledge that their boutique at least still, everything that they've done, I really liked. They kicked off with the black and the white. I think the red was a fantastic follow-up for them. So I'm very interested in trying the Circle of Life. I haven't smoked that one yet. Here's another one, and not to beat a dead horse, but going back to that boutique thing for just a second. A couple of you mentioned longevity as being a piece of it. Warped has been around, at least in my time paying attention to this industry, has been around as long as Roma and hasn't had that growth. And coming out with, what is this, the fourth different company umbrella that he's created with Jealous Family, that doesn't move the needle for me. Like, I wish he would just do line extensions and develop his core brand instead of hitting the reset button as much as he does. So I guess I'm going the other way. That, like, I don't know how you guys feel about that. And it's just to be super clear, I think Kyle Gellis is a phenomenal blender, has a really unique and amazing palate, and really tries to deliver a unique kind of angle on how he releases his cigars. His branding is magnificent, in my opinion. I love cigars that have come out from Warped over the years, and like to start with a whole new thing, I don't know, actually causes disinterest for me. I feel like he's diluting the pool a little bit, and I'm actually kind of scrolling a little bit here as a reminder for myself of what came out, what I'm excited about. HVC, I think I'm excited to see his trend path. As we watched him come up under Aganorsa, and I don't know how you guys feel. I'm a big Aganorsa fan. One of the ones I believe is going to do well. I had a lot of interest around Arsenio. I was following the industry pretty heavily when he died, and watching how many different other blenders that I respect paying homage to him and saying how much he was just an open book, and how when they were just buying tobacco from Aganorsa leaf, how welcome he was, and how much he helped guide people on their blending path. That one's pretty interesting to me. But yeah, that HVC, now he's doing the golden as the line extension to his hotcake series. I'm excited to see what he continues to do now that he's got his own factory and has a little bit more control over everything he's doing. But as far as something that really continues to have a lot of success, I actually had one. I lost it, but I do like that Arsenio one. And then AJ Fernandez. That's an interesting one. Again, not being disparaging at all, I've often said that everyone loves cigars that come from the AJ factory. Almost every time, any brand that does collaboration with him, it's like a blessing of he graces them with his name, and it's a hot seller. People flock to it. I don't feel like somehow that hasn't translated, in my opinion, to his own brand. The AJ Fernandez brand itself has been very hit or miss. I'm a huge fan of the New World Dorado that came out a year ago. Like, that to me superseded Belas Artes. Anything you want to argue is one of the outstanding cigar, right? Like, that was one of his best pieces of work, in my opinion. And then, of course, I do think, and I'm a huge, I think everyone is, but I'm such a huge Saka fan. The genius, and I have so much respect because he shares so much of like how these cigars come out, and that this is the he makes so many cigars from his selection, right? You know, you buy a lot of, in case you aren't aware, you buy a big lot of tobacco, then you sort, and you know, maybe only 40% of that batch of tobacco ends up being selected for the project that you actually intended it for. And then you have all this surplus, and a lot of people end up just reselling that at a little bit of a loss, just to move off of it. And Saka is constantly, you know, coming up with new projects for that second sort. And so, you know, so I love the Umbagog original story. I'm a Mi Querida fan. And, you know, to have him come out and say these are the ugly Mi Queridas, you know, makes me as a consumer very excited that, okay, so I have a more approachable price point and a more, you know, economic way to enjoy that flavor profile that I enjoy. And I don't care that they're a little bit ugly and you know, that they're not quite as you know, perfect of a wrapper. And, you know, to me, it still matches that flavor profile that I like so much.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny as that is, like an economy of cigars, how he's building it up. But the bronze version of Umbagog is one that I imagine will go right into the Dunbarton tobacco line and just crush. Right, yes. It's just going to do numbers because, again, he has high priced cigars, and if you like him as a blender and the flavor profile he delivers, you know, he has this very, very superb line that he kind of downgrades as it you know, has some imperfections or whatnot in the wrapper. I love that. You know, from a consumer standpoint, I love being able to access it. So I don't know if I answered the question all that well, but you know what? I do have to mention one other, because I'm such a huge fan of Foundation. Nick Melillo is just one of my favorite people. He's you know, from musically, like sometimes I wonder what he's doing, if he's just like off in Africa, you know, getting lost in his knighthood or whatever. And good or bad, I'm not sure, but you know, to pivot off of Agenor Salif, which was that flavor profile that I love so much, that I knew him for with Owense, and Owense was such, and that brand is so important to me. It was like the first humidor that I had that was just for one cigar. Like I would just keep it full of all the Vitolas, and just I love El Owense. So I think it's really interesting as he's now reblended those with my father. I smoked the Corojo. It couldn't be more dissimilar from the original El Owense. I haven't had the Maduro yet. I thought super highly of that coming out of the AJ factory again. And the flavor profile just, again, couldn't be more dissimilar from the original releases. So I think that's going to draw a lot of attention. I think a lot of people will flock to it to see, you know, what the new blend tastes like. And at the same time, I feel I'm a my father and Tetwahi fan as well. And like my father has such a like classic house flavor that I don't feel like is represented. And so it's like this whole new thing, and I'm not even sure how I feel about it, but it doesn't remind me anything Foundation. It doesn't remind me of anything like my father, and it's just like this new thing. So that's an odd one, but I think a lot of people will want to try. You know, people that like Agenor Salif, people that like the original blends. I think everyone's going to want to give it a shot, but it'll be interesting to see how they feel about it once they smoke it.
Yeah. So just a few things for each of us that sort of stood out as ones, you know, we think are going to either be successful or ones we have actually already tried and enjoy. I'll say Luciano underrated. You know, it's a price point cigar, but it's still a good cigar. The Hoya Cabinetto Lancero, I just smoked one. I was excited even before I smoked it that
I forgot about that one actually. Yeah,
and it was a good cigar. I just finished it. And I'll also say the LFD 30th anniversary. I'm excited for that one. I think that's going to be a good release. Raul, what about you?
Well, I am a Romacraft fan, so their new
The
Pennsylvania,
Chromag Pennsylvania.
That's a
one
I think is going to do good. Also, we haven't mentioned them, but I'm going to kill their name. Apostate.
You got it right.
I really like that brand, and then the two new cigars they're coming out with.
Yep.
And
sorry.
Paul Stanley's Connecticut, the Justice, and the Cohiba
Riviera.
Lancero.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
another interesting one. Yeah.
What about you, Justin?
For me, I'm gonna go with Wildfire, the B-sides that's coming out. This is our last interview of the trade show, which we're gonna make that a tradition, second year in the row.
That's right.
Get Wildfire up every time at the last, best for last there. So that was a good stick that he's got coming out there. Over with James Brown, Black Label Trading Company. I'm always a fanboy
Yes.
of Black Label Trading Company, the Paper Crane.
Yes.
Very excited about that release. Looks like a solid. It was in Connecticut, right? But you know, they don't do everything in Connecticut, so
Yeah.
you know, they're always pretty good on that. And I'm got the Rojas Cinco de Mayo release that's coming out soon, and we'll have him on the show coming up right before that release.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be a
Definitely.
good one. And then one that also stood out from Luciano, but the Peter James release with the Emergence. We had that one with Luciano.
Yep.
That there, enjoyed that. Little higher end stick, but kind of goes with the brand in general and everything they're doing. And I think that's going to be a solid release as well.
One other that I just remembered that, you know, it's funny because, you know, sometimes you hear about a certain cigar that's coming out and then you interview the person about it and you learn a little bit more about the blend. And it's not necessarily that you have bad expectations. It's just you're not really necessarily expecting this flavor profile that you get from a cigar. I smoked that new Macanudo Emissary España, and I was really kind of blown away with that cigar. And I've only smoked the one.
I heard a lot about that.
Yeah, I've only smoked the one, so I need to smoke some more to see if, you know, it's consistent. But I was really super pleasantly surprised that, I mean, it's such a non-Macanudo cigar. It really blew me away. So I'm excited to smoke more of those and kind of check up on the consistency and everything. But I would say don't sleep on that one because it really surprised me.
You know, I have to say the last couple of years, some of the things that they've done with the Macanudo name has been pretty interesting. I mean, the Flint Knoll stuff that they did was pretty good. They did those short, the golden nuggets that, you know, they've done, which I thought were pretty enjoyable. Those were pretty good. Now I'm hearing about this one that came out at the show, and there was a handful of people I was with who were smoking them and like, this is like the best cigar I had at the show. And I was like, really? So it's on my list of ones to try because I'm already hearing so many people talking about it.
Yeah.
There's one more brand.
Oh yeah.
That we actually had a discussion about and we won't get into is the Bronx Tail one. The Colugio.
Oh yeah.
So right before we went to interview Chaz Palminteri at the Epic Cigars booth, Dean Parsons handed me one of the new cigars, the Colugio, and I fired it up right away. And then I was told, okay, when you get up by Chaz to interview him, you have to set your cigar because he didn't want the cigar in the shot. So but I'm standing there puffing on this cigar. I'm like, am I crazy or is this cigar really good? And it kept getting better as I'm smoking it. And I was like, oh crap, I got to set this cigar down in the ashtray while I go interview Chaz. And I picked it up again after the interview and smoked it pretty much all the way through. That is a really good cigar. So that's another one that I would say be on the lookout for because it's legit. Miguel, that the Bronx Tail cigar is made by Epic Cigars. Dean Parsons owns and runs that brand. So part of the Xander Gregg and Netzico and all that.
So the discussion, and we can do a whole show on this by itself. Some of the media we were sitting around didn't like the idea of him representing the cigar because he's not a true cigar smoker.
Doesn't bother me a bit.
So we went back and forth for about an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah.
Back and forth about it. I love the story behind the cigar, and the cigar is solid. So I'm going to leave it at that, but we can do a whole show about that.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
Is it? Is it time?
I think it's time.
Is it time?
All right, guys, it is now time for this week's Numero de los Muertos. And as always, Numero de los Muertos brought to us by our friends at Smokin.
Honestly, agree with the goat to tell you about Smokin's Cigar of the Month Club. Every month, I personally handpick 5 premium cigars. Another great feature is our Double Down Club. With a simple check mark, you can get double this great selections every month and save $10. Every month, there's a special discount code where if you like any of the selections, you can get them at a special discounted rate for our Cigar of the Month Club members. We've made it super simple. All you gotta do is log into your account. There's a little green button there. If it's green, you're active. You want to take a break, going out of town, simply hit the button and you'll deactivate your membership. We get the stuff out on the 28th of every month. Our membership bills on the 28th, and we get every member's package out on the 28th if it's a shipping day. All delivered to your door for $34.95. 5 great reasons on what makes Smokin Cigar of the Month Club the best club out there. Check it out. Peace.
All right, Numero de los Muertos brought to us by Smokin. And we're continuing the trend. This week, the number is 1.
1?
I know.
What's up with all these ones?
I know. Because it's getting increasingly hard to find.
Man. So, viewers, if you have some Numero de los Muertos to send us, go ahead.
Yeah. Email us. Find us on the website and email us if you have ideas, because it's getting harder and harder to find this stuff.
I like Allison's death by headbutting a goat.
I mean, Allison, I appreciate the fact that you just came right out of the gate with that guess. Without any preliminary clues. That's not the right answer, but that's a good one. I will see if I can find.
Let's look that one up.
Yeah. So, Randy, you have not been a part of this before. Basically, you and Matt Tobacco and our viewers and Raul and Justin you're all going to throw out as many questions as you can to try to break down the cause of death and it's a weird, just totally out of nowhere cause of death in history for this one weird thing that happened, and you guys get to break it down. So everybody just start firing out questions.
What time period?
This was
Matt Tobacco came ready.
I learned my lessons from last time.
Was it the Preozoic period?
6th century BC.
Oh, shit. Okay,
way back.
Matt.
I'm just gonna smoke the cigar.
So there was no buses involved in it.
Yeah, no vehicles were involved.
So were there peanut butter sandwiches? Nobody choked on a peanut butter sandwich?
Yeah, nobody choked on a peanut butter sandwich.
So was this an illness or was this like a physical?
This was not an illness. It was not a medical condition or an illness.
Not health issues. Peed on an electric fence?
No.
Electric fences in the 5th century.
Ooh.
Salmonella from a nacho station.
Oh, I like that. Paul nailed it. I mean, that's got to be it, right?
That's a 2024 problem.
Oh, that is a 2024 problem.
No toothbrush.
Animals were not involved.
I was just about to say
no animals.
by a donkey. Come on.
Yeah.
Not medical or illness. Were weapons involved?
Weapons were not involved.
Okay,
Toothbrushes were not involved.
Accidental injury with weapons is out.
So run over by a stone wheel?
Nope. No vehicles were involved.
Or something, jousting injury like that. Cha-cha-cha.
No, it wasn't
There'd
jousting.
be more than one death from jousting.
Yeah.
And
would that be animals were involved? I feel like jousting kind of was ruled out by no animals.
6th century was way before the days of jousting. By the way,
century.
That was
All right,
6th century BC. We're not talking AD. We're talking 6th century BC.
How did you
Before Christ?
Oh,
I know.
And
fell off of a large rock.
No,
the bubonic plague. Somebody says. Hey,
so
Kelly.
I'll say this was a notable figure. This figure was not a ruler or a king or a queen, but this figure was
an emperor.
They were high up
Royalty?
in the hierarchy of their like ruling class.
Did we figure out what part of the country this is in?
This would have been in Athens, Greece.
So
They fell from their balcony while watching a gladiator match.
Good guess, but no.
Suffocation from large breast, Allison says.
Oh,
Well
I mean,
done.
what a way!
That's the way to die.
What a way
I was
to
going to
go.
say, round of
Wow.
applause.
That's
Very specific.
Eric, it was not Jesus.
Okay. We were at Easter yesterday. Good guess, Eric.
Good guess. It was not Jesus.
It is an odd way to die.
In Greece. Were these like Olympic events or something like that back then?
No,
Or
this
Coliseum
was
kind of
this
thing?
was
Was it
not
a-
related
was it-
to a
was
sporting
it-
event.
Was it a construction death?
No, it was not construction.
Was it punishment?
No, it was the opposite of punishment. So there's a hint.
Asphyxiation during a harem
Orgy.
event of an orgy.
So but asphyxiation event, a suffocation, I'll say, was the cause of death. But what led to the suffocation?
Well, Kevin Ackif says that told the wife that
Told
she
his
was
wife
fat.
she
Yeah.
was fat. Oh,
That might
Laid
have
on him
Well,
and
Back then, that was good.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
was
All the heavy
Yeah.
set people were
compliment.
rich and famous.
yeah.
Wasn't drowned in an aqueduct.
It was not drowned in an aqueduct.
Or like honorary celebration where
It was a celebration, yes,
Okay.
and someone was presented with something that
yes.
accidentally killed them by
Yes.
asphyxiation because it was wrapped around their face.
So I'm gonna give it to you, Matt Tobacco.
Mhm.
So basically, here's the story, and I looked this up on multiple sources.
Someone
because
choked on a toga?
I've been getting called out lately by having bad stats, so I looked this up on multiple sources. So there was a legislator in ancient Greece named Draco, and
Malfoy?
this Draco is actually where we get the legacy of the term known as draconian, which is often related to unforgivable or unforgiving rules or laws. That this is related to this legislator from ancient Greece. So Draco's death in the I missed. So it was the 7th century BC. Draco's death in the
Totally
7th century
different.
BC. I know.
Wrong information. We didn't have the right
You would've gotten
information.
it right away.
Yeah.
So it came about when he was smothered by a downpour of affection from the people because back then they would throw like items of clothing or whatever. So he
Bras
was
and
smothered
panties
by
and
a
whatnot.
downpour of cloaks, hats, and shirts that were thrown as gifts of celebration by his appreciative supporters at the Aegean Theater.
That is a dumb way to die.
That is and that's why we do this. That's why we do this. So that was this week's
Numero de los Muertos.
So what was the one? Just one guy died from this?
It was just the one that one guy. I mean, has there ever in history been another person that died because he had too many items of clothing thrown on top of him? It's possible, but that's the only one.
You
that's
couldn't find him on the Google machine.
Yeah, that's the only one written in the history books. All right, let's jump into the lightning round brought to us by J.C. Newman Cigar Company, America's oldest family-owned premium cigar maker, creators of the popular Brick House, Perla Del Mar, Diamond Crown, and The American. J.C. Newman Cigar Company operates out of their 113-year-old El Reloj Cigar Factory in historic Cigar City, Tampa, Florida. For more information on their cigars or visitor experience, please visit jcnewman.com. All right, Randy, you have not been a part of the lightning round. So we're gonna, because we have multiple guests and the show's already like 90 minutes, we're gonna keep it to one lightning round question per person tonight. So, Randy, if you were about to get into a fight, what would your soundtrack music be?
Oh, I'm about to get into a fight. Let's go with DMX. What is the track? What's the name of the DMX track? The famous DMX track.
X gonna give it to you?
No,
Riders Roll.
Rough Riders.
Rough Riders.
Yeah.
Rough Riders, yeah.
Rough Riders DMX.
Stop, drop, shut them down, open up shop.
Had them like, oh, now they like, no. Exactly. That's
All right, so Matt, you've been on the show before. I got to find I got a list of like 600 of these
He hasn't
questions
had any of
here.
the new ones though.
Has he?
I don't think he's been on since we did the new ones, the
Yeah.
recent ones.
I haven't been on since like
It's been about
not
a year.
March.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But he's done the zombie one.
yeah we had the zombie.
I did
one
the
before.
zombie one.
We
Okay.
Matt,
yeah.
so
hit him with the fast food.
Yeah, do the
Matt.
fast food one.
what is the most overrated fast food and the most underrated fast food in your opinion?
Overrated? The fillet of fish. That sucks. No one's eating fast fish. I mean, that's easy. Underrated? Ooh, that's tough. I like fast food. I like to eat. There's a lot of things that come to mind. I mean, Cinnabon comes to mind. I love that very much.
That's interesting.
Is that
I never thought of Cinnabon as
That's
fast food.
Well, I mean, I don't know. You can walk in and get it.
I think it qualifies. I just think it's pretty
He's in the
well
Northeast.
rated, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
you gotta have
Randy's
it.
right. Randy's right. It's already too well rated.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of something that's like outside the box here a little bit. The problem is up here in Boston, we don't have like any like the cool fast foods. Like we only have like the basic bitches. We got McDonald's, Wendy's, and like fucking Burger King. Like we don't have like In-N-Out and like Carl's Jr. and I think we have like one Arby's, but I've never been there.
You have Bojangles?
No, we don't have Bojangles. Thanks for reminding me, Justin.
Popeye's chicken? You got Popeye's
Do you have
chicken up
Popeyes?
there?
I'm more of a KFC guy.
What?
That's because you haven't had enough Popeyes.
I'm gonna have to remember.
No, I'd had Popeyes. I don't know. I like KFC better. I don't know.
Oh,
I'm with you. Don't let them tear you down. KFC's fantastic.
It is. It is extra crispy. Come on.
Only way to do it.
I
The
mean,
worst thing that KFC ever did, though, was they got rid of the potato wedges. I mean, come on, those were
They
fantastic.
got rid of the potato wedges?
Yeah, they did. They're gone. Yeah, they're gone. Now they
The
have
biscuits are
fries.
fabulous.
The biscuits are.
Oh, the biscuits are phenomenal.
so here's what we need. We need a fried chicken sandwich with Cinnabon as the buns.
Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh,
Yes.
Chicken and
Yes.
waffles, but like it's
I
I
was just
would
about
do
to
that.
say, yeah, I drizzle the honey over the
hell
over the
yes.
extra crispy. So
Yeah.
I like that sweetness with the savory and the crispy. I love the cinnamon bun.
Where do we
fried
have
chicken.
the
Great.
chicken and waffle mix? That was pretty good. That buffet.
Yeah, chicken and waffles.
Oh,
And that's basically what chicken and waffles is,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Cinnabon with. Oh, I'm doing it.
But the Cinnabon, it brings more like pizzazz. You know.
Yeah,
it's
you get
softer,
the
it's
cinnamon and
juicier.
the cream cheese frosting, and then you would have to do, instead of just the regular crispy chicken, it's got to have a kick. It's got to have some spice to it, so it'll cut through the sweetness of the Cinnabon. That would be legit. I mean, somebody needs to make that happen. And if nobody does,
someone's
I
saying
will.
that Wendy actually tried it.
Oh, they tried it.
They
Oh,
did.
Yeah,
I
but
didn't know that.
Wendy's make good extra crispy chicken to begin with.
Yeah, Wendy's
you're probably
doesn't know
starting
how to-
off at the wrong base.
Yeah, Wendy's sucks at cinnamon rolls and they suck at chicken. So
Hey, Chick-fil-A is good with chicken. I mean, come on.
Chick-fil-A is good stuff.
There we go.
It
Cinnabon
is.
pressed in a waffle maker.
Oh,
And then just chicken and waffles. I love
yeah,
it.
baby.
Boom. Put the chicken in it too.
Let's
dude.
go get some Cinnabon and make that this weekend.
Shit. Okay, that's going to be on my list of things to do this weekend. Is go to Cinnabon and bring it home and put it in the waffle iron.
Yeah, or you just get
Yeah.
the pre-made ones in there in the thing, you know.
No, I got to go get the real
deal?
because honestly, if you
Yeah.
put one of those full size Cinnabons in
Yeah.
it would be like the size of a dinner plate by the time you pressed it. Those
Yeah.
things are massive.
It's true.
Oh.
Regardless, when it comes to any food that's underrated, I still will always defend the $1.49 hot dog from Costco. And if you know, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Somebody
think
said
your
that
buddy
earlier. That's pretty
Kevin
good.
said that
Kevin
somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Pizza's
just
pretty
can't beat it.
There we go.
The pizza's fantastic. I don't care what
Yeah,
pizza is. It's
Costco
fantastic.
hot dogs and pizza are good, and I don't care.
They
who
lose
says
money on
otherwise.
it, but they don't want to.
It's a lost leader, but it
Yeah.
works for them.
Oh, they make so much money on all the other.
Yeah.
That and the rotisserie chicken, $4.99.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is the best buy in that gigantic building altogether.
I'm getting hungry.
You go to the grocery store and you get a rotisserie chicken. It's just like shriveled up, like bird. You know, it's like been under the warmer. You go to Costco, you get this plump, juicy, fresh
Noble
bird.
chicken.
Yeah.
You could feed a whole family of 4 with it.
Noble
$4.99. You just can't beat that.
The chicken, as Matt Booth would say, because I just taught him this word, the chicken from Costco is positively tumescent.
Nice.
Tumescent means swollen.
Oh.
Or
They are.
engorged.
Oh.
They are.
So yeah, I when I first saw Boofy at the trade show, I said, I am positively tumescent to see you again. And he looks at me, he's like, I don't know that word. I said it means swollen. He said, "Oh, yes, you are," or something like, I don't remember, but it was great. All right, let's jump into this week's notable smokables, brought to us by Don Doroteo Cigars, a brand with both purpose and passion dedicated to creating change from within. By developing their own land, they are able to own the entire process throughout the life cycle of the plant. They methodically carry out each step, ensuring that the final product is of the finest quality. The new Salt of the Earth lines, Piedra Viva and Piedra Angular, are available now at Don Doroteo retail partners. Visit dondoroteo.com to learn more. So, guys, each week on the show, we name a cigar that we smoked recently that was notable to us. Now, this could be a cigar that's been on the market for decades that we had for the first time in a long time, or it could be a cigar that's brand new that we smoked for the first time ever. So, Randy, since it's your first time on the show, what's something you smoked recently that was notable to you?
I've been very high on the new La Polina Golden recently.
Oh, yeah.
That one has been hitting, and I just got a couple boxes of the 22 minutes to midnight from Lost and Found, the Connecticut. That has been a go-to for me.
Nice. Matt Tobacco, what's notable for you recently?
That's a tough question. I've not been smoking as much as I'd like to recently. You know, I'll throw out an easy one. I'll throw out an easy one because I thought it was good. Was the new the shade from Drew Estate, the blackened shade. I thought it was good. Different, kind of not quite what I expected, but it was good. I've been enjoying that one.
Better than the first, or on par with?
I think the first one. I think the first one was slightly better. Only because I think I enjoy, that fuller Maduro, but I still thought it was good. The first one was better, but this one wasn't bad.
Okay. Raul, notable for you this week?
Well, since everybody seemed to be going Connecticut lately, everybody's released Connecticut's. The Fiat
I
Lux
think
came
so.
out to black.
Oh yeah, the Fiat Lux.
It's called black, right? Fiat Lux black.
It's either Fiat Lux Black or Fiat Lux Maduro. I'm honestly not sure.
Black. Yeah.
He's black.
That's solid. That's
Yeah, I haven't smoked that one yet, but I've heard from you and a couple others that it's really good. Justin, what's notable for you this week?
I'm gonna go with that Peter Ryan Emergence that we had at the trade show. That was probably the best one I've had in the last couple weeks.
Okay. My notable's actually old. I found an old Crown Heads Jericho Hill 12 Honest Men Lancero in my humidor, and it's from like 2016 or something like that, and smoked it a couple days ago, and yowza, that's a good cigar. It's got age on it, but it's really good.
I got a quick question. I should have asked this earlier, but do you guys feel that you really don't get the full flavor smoking at the show because we're smoking 3, 5, 7, 8 cigars a day? So do you think it's unfair to judge some of these cigars when we're smoking them at the show?
100%.
For all of you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, the other thing too is, especially when it's in Vegas. I mean, the cigars are all fucking dry anyway.
Yeah, they've been traveled.
So, it's tough. It's tough to judge them, but
I'm just trying to make the show go longer so you don't get no sleep.
Well, I mean, you can get a little bit of an idea. Like if you're smoking a cigar on the trade show floor and you've really had a lot of cigars previous, but that cigar still stands out to you, that means something.
Yes.
And then it's important to get home and smoke it some more and smoke it a few more times to really get a feel for how good that cigar actually is, and let either bring, if you got any samples of it, bring it home, let it sit in your humidor for a few weeks, or go to your local brick and mortar and buy some that were shipped there and let those sit for a couple of weeks or whatever. But yeah, it's like you're not gonna publish a review based on
Right.
a cigar smoking experience on the trade show floor. That would, but I've always felt like if it stands out at all, and you can actually get discernible flavors and aromas from it on a busted palate at the trade show, that means something.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, Matt Ty.
Yeah.
What's
Excuse
in that
me.
glass there that you got there, buddy? By Pastonia Cigars.
So yeah, the Spirit of Mystery this week, and thank you both for reminding me because I flew right past the Spirit of Mystery reveal. So it's a very good whiskey. I enjoy it. It's getting smoother the more I drink it, but that's not uncommon for higher proof whiskeys. I'm having a hard time like landing on a distillery or a family of whiskeys on this one, but there's so much of this, like, especially now that I've continued to drink it, there's this insanely like heavy brown sugar kind of aroma to it, and when honestly every time I get brown sugar aromas on bourbons, it takes me straight to Weller, because that weeded whiskey gets you that sweet note in the nose. I didn't get it originally, but the more I drink it, the more I just keep getting brown sugar.
So this is a 7-year-old single barrel that was made for Minnesota Whiskey Society, and it's an Old Elk.
This is Old Elk.
Wow. What's the proof?
Yeah, do you know the proof?
New.
What?
How do you not know that?
You got to know these things.
He doesn't drink.
Oh, he doesn't drink. So.
Yeah, all right,
But he
give
has
me
a
that.
bigger liquor collection than probably everybody in this room. In this thing right now.
Not than Randy. No, Randy's probably
Well,
got
maybe
us all
Randy.
beat up.
Randy might have his beat.
I was going to ask, because I love what you had said, that you guys did a fun deal of not even knowing what the spirit was and had to guess. I want to do that now. Like I'm going to start blind testing myself and get my wife to prep me some.
It's
some
fun.
glasses. That's fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
How much of a whiskey aficionado are you, man?
Oh,
He's getting better.
I'm getting better. I'm not like a whiskey aficionado or a spirits aficionado. I know what I like when I drink it, and I've just like everybody else, I've paid good money for bottles, and have a couple pours out of the bottle and realize it's not for me. But I've been trying over the last, I'd say 5 years, to just try as many different things as I can, just like cigars. I'm trying to, with beers, with whiskeys, with rums, with gins. I'm just trying to grow my palate as much as I can to learn more about what I like, and specifically so I can identify which distilleries I gravitate towards.
Nice.
Well,
So then I know what to buy.
Since we started this in mid-September, I think we started this.
Yeah.
His palate has gotten better. I could tell before he couldn't tell different flavors. Let's just say different notes, and now he's starting to pop them out more.
Yeah. I've guessed a couple.
Yeah.
So I'm getting better.
I've been doing some training. I also am trying to accelerate my own palate, my own knowledge of flavors, from tequilas to bourbons. It makes such a difference in my recent experience
Yeah.
when you line several up next to each other, where you'll pick up certain characteristics and then you try something else, and you realize that relative to other, if you just line up 8 bourbons, which I recommend doing as frequently as your life allows, but just relative to the other ones, you start picking up other things. I would have never thought. I recently put Blanton's in a lineup and got green chilies and didn't find it very pleasant really at all. And, and you definitely learn more, like what you're saying is like, okay, finding my sweet spot, what my subjective, palate desires and what I like. But it's interesting because, in doing that, I've found that ones that I drink quite frequently and enjoy quite a bit, when I line them up next to, 4 to 8 other ones, it's like, oh, wow, this really doesn't, hold as much, regard as when I was just by itself, just enjoying it. It's like, yeah, no, this is very enjoyable. It's like, oh shit, until I tried it next to this and this, which were much, much better,
Yeah.
So, Randy, have you tried anything from Costco?
Yes, I'm a huge Costco fan. The things that their gin is tremendous. I put their gin next to Hendrix and Gray Whale. There's a couple that I sell here at the distributorship that I work at, and that's how it started. Is just kind of see what I'm selling, how it fares against some of these like larger, well-known name brands. But yeah, the Costco ones are fantastic in my experience.
Matt's found that out too.
Yeah, some of the blind ones that Raul brought to me were actually Costco bottles, and they were very, very good because most of them come from, whether you're talking Costco wines or Costco gins or Costco whiskeys, they come from top producers for the most part. It's just Costco's got buying power, so they can get 12,000 gallons for what other places would pay. They pay pennies on the dollar because they buy so much.
Well. And I'll tell you, the Costco model is to take a lower margin. So, yes, they're getting it at a better price, but they're not getting it such a better price that it makes sense for them to pass that along to what you're paying for it. But by taking the Weller name off of it, putting the Kirkland name on it, and then be willing to sell that at a 12% margin where everyone else is taking a 30+% margin. They really do bring such great quality products up and down the Kirkland line.
Yeah.
We should get that with sponsors.
Right. Yeah, that'll happen. All right, let's jump into let's just give our viewers and listeners an idea of coming attractions. Coming attractions brought to us by Hoagland Insurance. They are excited to serve and educate any new customers and give existing customers a refresher. Whether it's a business policy, auto insurance, home policy, or life insurance, if you are currently insured or just looking for a quote, Tony Hoagland and his team would love to create a personal price plan just for you. Mention How About That Cigar when you make your first appointment, and Tony will have a free cigar just for you. For more information, please call 763-421-4900 or visit ChamplinInsurance.com. All right, next week, April 8th, Monday night, April 8th, we have none other than Oliver Naveau from United Cigars. So that's a very exciting thing we have coming up, and we have more fantastic shows scheduled for the weeks to come. So stay tuned to howaboutthatcigar.com. So, gentlemen, first of all, thank you so much for being on the show.
I hope you guys
have a pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me.
Matt Tobacco, if you would please give our viewers a little plug, let them know where they can find what you have going on. And if you have a special show coming up, let us know about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, SmokinTabacco.com. That's where you can find everything we do. Pretty easy. SmokinTabacco.com, all social media at Smokin Tabacco. This week we have Rocky Patel joining us on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern.
That is awesome.
Also, viewers, that is his legal last name.
Tobacco.
It's actually his.
That's his legal last name, guys.
Yeah.
It is. It's a gift from God.
And Randy, if you would please, give our viewers an idea where is the best place for them to keep up with everything you have going on and what's coming up soon on Flavor Odyssey.
Yeah, absolutely. CigarDojo.com is, who we represent. We got a couple different shows. I am the host of Flavor Odyssey. Airs at 9 p.m. Eastern time. We live stream on X, YouTube, and Facebook. Ironically, this Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time, we also will be featuring Rocky Patel as we go through the Dojoverse top 32 rated cigars. Dojoverse.com is where you can be part of a community and never smoke alone. We are going through the top 32 cigars that are checked in on our website and doing pairings with them. And so, again, as I talked about, I'm an alcohol beverage specialist, and so we do pairings, trying to find aha moments for our audience to create the greatest flavor experience that you can find.
Fantastic. Well, gentlemen, as I said before, thank you so much for being on our show this evening and sharing your thoughts about the PCA Trade Show. Look forward to seeing you both again in the future.
Looking forward to seeing you guys as always. And next time, we're going to do it up there in the snow, and we're going to go check out what this whole fascination with odd deaths is all about. I want to unpack that with you a little bit.
And you make it up this way, and we'll take you on a tour of local distilleries and breweries. There's a lot of good spots around here that are doing some good work.
Love to do that.
Awesome.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right, viewers and listeners, guys, thank you so much for being the best part of How About That Cigar Live. We are so grateful that you spent your evening with us, and thank you so much for doing that. Please take a minute to subscribe. Click all of the beautiful red subscribe buttons on YouTube. Click the follow button on Facebook and click the bell so you don't miss anything we have going on. If you have questions for us, you can email us on the website, howaboutthatcigar.com. Follow us on all social media at HBT Cigar. And of course, until we see you guys next time, burn cigars,
not bridges.
Thanks, guys.
Any comments, opinions, viewpoints, or statements presented or uttered by guests on the HBTC podcast, HBTC live video streams, and all other media from HBT Media LLC are solely those of the individual and do not necessarily represent the opinions or viewpoints of How About That Cigar or its parent company, HBT Media LLC, any of our advertising partners, or the premium cigar industry. The primary purpose of How About That Cigar is to entertain and to encourage activity and growth within the community of people who enjoy or want to learn about the enjoyment of premium cigars.